And welcome back to the Hot Lap, and congratulations first of all to Max Verstappen's daughter. Is that the legend that could be born? Maybe, but we'll be talking about another legend that has been born, that is in Formula 1 currently, and that has got sprint pole. Yes, Kimi Antonelli. Who saw that coming? Well, I tell you what, we didn't see that coming. Most definitely we didn't see that coming. And pole position for the sprint pole. Granted, it's not an official pole position. However, it is still a sprint pole position. So absolutely, massively congratulations for Kimi Antonelli. You, sir, are a legend and actually a record breaker. This is for Motorsport. So we have youngest race leader, Kimi Antonelli. Youngest fastest lap setter, Kimi Antonelli. And youngest pole sitter in any format, Kimi Antonelli. Could he then be the youngest sprint winner? Absolutely. Could he be the youngest pole sitter tomorrow? Absolutely. Or the youngest winner on Sunday? Absolutely. I digress though, because it's going to take some, isn't it? It is, you know, he is alongside some very good people. But yes, we're so happy. So as I keep saying, I couldn't be happier. Everyone, lots of people are happier. Lots of people are talking about Kimi Antonelli, as they should. He has landed. So before we get into the whole of qualifying, this was the free practice one, and it was a McLaren wash, so to speak. McLaren dominating, basically, you know, but a few hundredths in Sector 1, a couple of tenths in Sector 2, and a few hundredths in Sector 3. Interestingly, it was Ferrari fastest in Sector 3. Red Bull fastest in Sector 2, and Williams fastest in Red Bull fastest, in Sector 1, and Williams fastest in Sector 2. Having said that, practice 1 doesn't normally mean anything. Boy, did it here though, because as you know, a sprint Grand Prix weekend, there is only ever one practice session, then we go straight into sprint qualifying. You can't change your car from sprint qualifying to the sprint race, but you can change your car from the sprint race to Formula 1, you know, the qualifying for the main race. The but is, you don't, the but and a caveat is, it's always a risk because there's no practice session in between. I think there should be a half-an-hour practice session. Why? Helps the team to tiny bit more dial in. Yes, it gives teams that haven't dialed in a slightly better chance, but that's why only half an hour or 20 minutes even. And it also gives the fans at the track a bit more running. Anyway, I digress. So this is your F1 sprint grid. On pole positions, Kimi Antonelli. In second is Piastri. Third, Norris. Yes, we all thought McLaren were going to get it done. They didn't, but they're still looking strong. Fourth, well done, Max Verstappen. His first qualifying session as a father. Fifth, Russell. Sixth, Leclerc. Seventh, Hamilton, doing a lot better than last time out. Eighth, Albon. Ninth, Hadjar. 10th, Alonso. 11th, Hulkenberg. 12th, Ocon. 13th, Gasly. 14th, Lawson. 15th, Sainz. 16th, Stroll. 17th, Doohan. 18th, Tsunoda. Yeah, we'll explain what happened there. 19th, Bortoletto. Last but not least, Ollie Behrman. So, let's talk about the fastest sector times then in sprint qualifying. And the fastest sector 1, it was Max Verstappen. Sector 2, yeah, was Piastri. Sector 3 was Norris. Now, the interesting thing is, where's Kimi Antonelli? Well, he had the second fastest Sector 2 and Sector 3, and the third fastest Sector 1, meaning overall his lap was absolutely amazing. Done very nicely. So that's kind of how he got pole. Now, let's talk about this man here, the championship leader starting second. It's going to be really interesting to what happens between him and Kimi Antonelli at the start. As with all sprint races, unless their tyres really go off, I think whoever very likely, I could be wrong, I kind of hope I'm wrong in a way, but very likely whoever gets away first and is leading after that, but on that first lap as we come through, is probably going to win the sprint race, in my opinion. So Lando P3, he's not the best starter in the world, but I think if he just matches his teammate or even beats him, doesn't have to win, but I think what was looking like a bit of a disaster after practice is not looking too bad now. So Lando Norris, I think he's in a good position to potentially repeat that win. Ferrari, now what's interesting, yes, they're not particularly very good, but P6 for Charles Leclerc, P7 for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton not really that much slower than Leclerc at all, so he, when you compare the two, he is looking not too bad, a lot better than he was in Saudi Arabia, even though we are at another street circuit. So I think that can only be a good thing for Lewis. Having said that, the negativity is still there because this is him in... Oh, no, that's the youngest race leader. Again, this is him in an interview somewhere. I don't know where it is now. Let me let me find it. I had it all tooled up. Hamilton, interview, go. Here we go. So, he's
P1
He's a
was
bit negative.
probably a bit better. The car was a bit nicer to drive in P1, but yeah, we're just lacking speed. But I'm just keep working on from there.
So he's saying it's still lacking speed. He's still working on it. It's almost like a copy and paste of what he said in Saudi Arabia.
Like you can fight tomorrow in the sprint, maybe make a bit of ground from where you are?
Not really. I think all the cars ahead are faster. So.
And this is it. Not really. I mean, I'm always frustrated by it. It's kind of like with Lando. He's talking himself down. Not really. I guess it's kind of like a thing that people normally do in Formula 1 because then, you know, maybe subconsciously they're putting the pressure off them. I don't know. But he's like, oh, no. Everyone's faster in front. Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what else to say.
We've got the main qualifying session and Grand Prix coming up, of course, a chance to reset in the middle of that. So do you have some ideas of what you could maybe do differently with the car?
There's always ideas, whether or not they're going to be right or not. But
yeah, that's true.
To take from today,
and he has been trying those ideas.
Made and how the car behaved, and there's definitely work to do to pick up speed going into the rest of the weekend.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
There we go. I mean, that's pretty much that's pretty much it. Sadly for Ferrari. So. Mercedes, P1 and P5. Obviously, we've spoken about Kimi Antonelli. It was an absolutely amazing lap. He was looking strong all the way through. George Russell was the one that wasn't particularly confident. And what I thought was interesting, he said in the interview to Sky, the reason I went first is because I wasn't confident with the car, even though at one point, I think he had provisional pole, didn't he? So that's interesting. And it's the first session, I think, that Kimi's looked better than George Russell, only by a smidge though. So it's going to be interesting to see what George learns in the sprint and if he can, like Red Bull are very good at, to be fair, get that car slightly better. This was George Russell congratulating Kimi Antonelli, which is really, really nice. Kimi came home for his sprint pole. There he is. There's Kimi. I mean, you can hear the cheers. People are quite happy. Everyone's new. I think everyone's happy when you get a new winner. Remember, Lando Norris, the celebrations here, or a new pole sitter. I'm not too keen on the new Mercedes suits. So let's talk about Red Bull. Max P4. I think that's the best that car was going to get. But we're talking. I mean, it's so close, isn't it? In times. P18. Yuki Tsunoda. He messed up his first initial lap in the in that first qualifying session, and then Max didn't really hold him up, but I think it was almost like he held back and he wasn't sure what Max was doing. That was a bit strange. So Aston Martin, I've just got a picture of Aston Martin now. I've no idea where do they qualify. I've no idea where they qualified now. That's really bad. So yeah, Fernando Alonso, congratulations for getting that 10th place. Lance Stroll 16. It's Lance Stroll. But yeah, points potentially in the sprint race from Fernando Alonso are definitely a possibility. So next up, we've got Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson was sadly P40. Once again, talk. It's kind of died down a bit with the Miami Grand Prix talk, but people are talking about maybe is Liam Lawson's time done this year in Formula 1. I hope not. P9 Isaac Hadjar, the guy's a legend. He's really showing everyone what he can do. Oh, this was Aston Martin. Yeah, no, this is not Aston Martin. This is Williams. P8 for Alex Albon. Amazing. This guy's amazing. P15, Sainz, I think he could have potentially got in the P10, at least been a contender for the top 10. He ended up on his fast lap doing the lockup of all lockups, absolutely epic, and then just going wide. That was his lap over, sadly, but well done to Alex. This was him.
P1, so we've just been pretty happy. Friday done with, I think, generally a very positive day. I think we were maybe even looking for a little bit more come Sprint Quali. The car's been in a really...
What I like about that, a little bit more, he's positive. What I like about that is Williams are looking for more, even though when you speak to James Vowles, all he can say is 2026.
A good place from the moment we did the first lap in FP1, and so we've just been pretty happy. I think that either others maybe found a little bit on their side, and honestly we were pretty much optimised from the beginning of the day.
So looking good. I think that's about as good as he's going to get with the Williams. Sadly, P11 for Hulkenberg. I mean, that was really epic for him, wasn't it? He wasn't that far away from getting in Q3. And yeah, P19 for Gabriele Bortoleto. Bortoletto even. Nico Hulkenberg really showing his class now. Bortoletto kind of showed him up a bit at the beginning of the season, but then the Hulk was doing good. This was top speed then on their fastest lap. So Alonso 3.46, Behrman 3.36, you know, the slowest. And what was amazing me, it's not the fastest cars in the top speed. I mean, the fastest car there, realistically, is obviously Antonelli at 3.41, George Russell at 3.38. That is all about setup of their cars, how much wing level they have, that bit of downforce maybe to protect the tyres to go faster, because obviously having the fastest car in a straight line is not necessarily the fastest way to go round a track. So this was upsetting for some. Miami Grand Prix breaking extended through to 2041, so we're talking like a decade and a half. What? And this guy here, Sam Sage, I don't know who he is, but he speaks sense. I saw it. Spa on the brink, no Sepang, no Sepang, no Istanbul, no Hockenheim, no Nürburgring, no Kalami. Instead, Miami for another 16 years. That, I think, sums it up. On what is not a bad track, but in terms of worst tracks, it probably is in the bottom third. If it went, would I be sad? No. Would Americans be sad? Well, I think even a lot of Americans aren't exactly amazed about this. It's more almost this Grand Prix, and I can understand F1 is more about money than it is sport. This Grand Prix, they're just there for the marketing, really, isn't it? I honestly thought this would go, and they'd keep Las Vegas, and they'd keep the real track, as in COTA, the actual Formula 1 track. If that goes, that'll be absolutely sacrilege. But as this guy says, no Sepang, no Istanbul, no Hockenheim, no Nürburgring, no Kalami. Instead, Miami for another 16 years. But moving on. This one was really funny. This is the last thing we're talking about. It says here, last year Red Bull suspected McLaren was injecting water to cool its tyres. Zach Brown's water on the bottle. Tyre water. I mean, that's just... Yeah. Very good, Zach. Very good. I love a bit of trolling. What are Red Bull going to do back? It's always a bit of fun, isn't it? So if you made it to the end, you are amazing. If you are subscribed, you're even more amazing. If you're not subscribed, we won't hold that against you. But if you would like to subscribe, it'll make me smile. If you want to do a bit more, though, you just watching it is more than enough for us here. But if you want to do a bit more, hit the like button, comment below, let us know what you think about sprint qualifying. But until then, we will speak to you soon. See you next time. But above all else,